How are we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, and welcome back to another video. So it's time to talk a little bit how I've been doing over on the NA realms and giving you guys a bit of an update. Now, firstly, I got to apologise that it's taken me way longer than it should have done to get this out, but I wanted to deliberately go sort of slow and steady with this series, because rushing everything, zerging straight to the end game of gold making, whilst it's good to have lots of gold, it's not super constructive when it comes to helping you guys get up and running as well. So let's talk about what we've been doing then. The main focus of this one is going to be talking about some of the material flips that we've done. You can see that we've leveled up a significant amount since the last episode of this. We are now level 57. Not even level 60 though, but we are slowly but surely getting up to speed with some gold. We've not got huge amounts. We've got 76,000 liquid gold currently. But we got a bunch of stuff on the auction house, and we've been making most of this gold by flipping low-level materials. You guys know I don't particularly like farming. Farming is one of those things that I think if you enjoy it, cool, go ahead, go do it. I tend to find it quite repetitive, quite monotonous though. If I need materials for crafting, I'd rather just buy the materials and then work out my costs and so on and so on. But let's look at what I have been doing then. You can see in my bags we've got a whole bunch of random materials. Ignore the stuff at the top. This is just some random trash from leveling. But we've been picking up a few bits and pieces, and so far we've been having some steady success. Let's bring up the TSM graph to start though. Let's look at the last month. In the last month we've made nearly 250,000 gold in sales. We've spent nearly 200,000 gold on buying materials though, turning over a profit of 56,000 gold so far. Now most of this, if not 99% of this, is from just buying and flipping low level materials on the auction house. I wanted to focus on the low level stuff because the current expansion materials tend to be very, very volatile. What do I mean by volatile? Well, they may be, you know, 20 gold one day and then 15 gold the next day and then 24 gold the day after that. They go up and down a lot, and the size of the realm that I play on at the moment, the only way to really take a big advantage of that is to be able to buy in bulk, and I'm just not rich enough to get up and running with that yet. So we're focusing on low level materials, but what I did discover is low level material flipping, not only is it relatively risk free, you can get going with it super quickly. You don't need max level characters. There's very little requirements to get it up and running. All you need is a small amount of gold. When you're leveling, I think by the time you hit level 50, you've probably got enough for your flying and then about 10,000 gold spare. That alone is plenty to get up and running with flipping. You can see at the beginning we had very little amounts of gold. We sold a few bits and pieces, we then reinvested it in buying some more stuff. We then spent a few days selling those bits and pieces, and we, you know, repeat the process. We're repeating the process now to the point where we've still got about 70,000 gold to sell. 70,000 gold worth of sales made, sorry. But loads more stuff on the auction house. But let's talk about how I did it. As I want to sort of emphasize just how easy it is to get up and running with this. My auctions, as it stands right now, we've got another 70k worth of stuff on the auction house. This is mostly materials, so, and it's mostly materials that I feel will sell relatively quickly. But how did we do this, and how can you guys do the same? Well, first thing I decided to do was try and put together some groups for these materials. I wanted to do two things with the low level materials. One, I wanted to make sure that I was not buying anything that was just doesn't sell. Secondly, I wanted to sort of focus more so on stuff that then sells quite quickly, and I wanted to understand why it was selling as well. That's an important part of it for me. It's all good and well just listing stuff on the auction house, but you can have better success and better results if you kind of understand why people are buying things, why people are selling things. That will make sense a little bit more going forward. But let's talk about what we did with the groups then. The first task I had was quite a large group, quite a large task I should say. It was setting up some TSM groups for the materials. You can, in theory, use the default UI to search for materials. The trade goods, you can go to herbs and you can click search herbs, and it will instantly give you a list of everything that's on your realm. Whilst this is super quick and whilst this is super convenient to start with, unless you already have a lot of knowledge on exactly what you're doing with these materials, it's very easy to make mistakes, and it's very easy to make expensive mistakes as well, and they're things that we want to avoid to begin with. You could quite easily look at something and say, oh, that's cheap, I'll buy the cheap stuff, and yeah, it just turns out that it's an item that doesn't ever sell. So groups were the first thing on my list. If we look at my groups, oh, helps if I could type. We've got TSM groups, and I made some old material groups. I went through each of the categories and just populated each category with everything that I could think of from that expansion. I got a little bit OCD with this, and it's actually ended up that I've, populated these with 100% every single material, and I've broken them all down by expansion as well. I went a little bit further than you necessarily need to. It's just the way that I like to do things. I now have a set of groups that are 100% complete, and they're done. I probably never have to do this again. I can copy these from one profile to another and be happy about it. Ores and stuff, for example, every single one from a certain expansion, all grouped up nice and neatly. But what was the point of doing this? Well, the point was simple. It means I can put some shopping operations on them. You can put some very simple shopping operations to weed out the trash. Firstly, we want to weed out anything that doesn't necessarily sell relatively quickly. I tell you what, let's go as far as to actually show you my shopping operation. Shopping operation, old materials. So here we go. It looks a little bit complicated, but it's a little bit simpler than it looks. Firstly, we want to look at the sale rate of the items. We're not interested in trying to buy and sell things that don't sell very frequently. When you're starting, you don't have a lot of gold, and you want to be able to, turn over your gold quite quickly. You don't want to be buying stuff that's going to take you 3 months to sell again. So we wanted to make sure that the sale rate, the speed in which they sell, is pretty good. Secondly, we want to not only make sure that the speed of them that sells pretty good, we also want to make sure that we can sell a reasonable quantity of them. We're not interested in selling one piece of linen cloth. We're dealing with past materials. We want stuff to be selling in larger numbers than that. So we also want to double check that the quantity sold per day is at least reasonable. If those two things are met, if it sells relatively quickly and it sells in a reasonable quantity, we are interested in it. It's at that point what we do is we look to see, well, what's the market value of the item listed currently? And if those two things, if there's a tick next to the first two boxes, we look at a 50% DB market price. If there's not a tick next to either one of those boxes, we will still consider it, but only if it's super duper mega cheap. And so this is building in some TSM based automated filtering of the materials, and it ends up working really quite well. Let me take a little bit of a search on the auction house. Let's do this live and see what it turns up with. We go to browse and we do leather. Let's hit shopping scan. Now, if you've used TSM before, you'll be used to the fact that this far end column is usually telling you what the DB market price is of an item, which is kind of cool. DB market price is a good metric to look at, and it's kind of helpful to know. But like I said, it doesn't do any of that filtering. It doesn't filter out the trash. It doesn't get rid of all of the stuff that, doesn't sell very well. It doesn't do a great job of giving you a true indication of whether it's a good flip. So let's see what this scan results then. Straight away, I'm interested in this heavy leather. Heavy leather not only is it a reasonably good price. If I remember right, we've had some good results with heavy leather before. Let's look at the tooltip real quick. The tooltips are your friends. Now, we already know that this is a reasonably good opportunity here anyway. But heavy leather is... We've actually bought some in the past. We bought 32 of it. We then sold it a couple of days later, and we almost doubled our money on it. And that was at 3 gold up to 7 gold. 3.5 gold up to 6.5 gold. So, yeah, absolutely. We will buy out these cheap ones. And that's a nice little opportunity to flip it around. We know that that will be a win. I can very quickly see that the filter has, you know, excluded most of the trash that we're not super interested in, to the point that actually with leather there's not a huge amount of other opportunities for us today, and that's okay. The thing to note with this is you're not going to become a millionaire overnight with sort of flipping low-level materials. It's a long and steady goal. If there's not any good deals, it's okay not to buy anything. This is one of the things I see a big problem with people that try to get into the flipping game, is that they feel as if there should always be something that they're buying to flip. It's okay if sometimes there isn't. Don't worry about it. Check again tomorrow. You might find some other deals. There's always other categories you can search through. But that's just a very small example of what I do. I've been doing this across a few categories every other day. I've not even been doing this super frequently, just to build up that starting gold on the account. And so far, it's going pretty well. Now, what I should do is give a bit of a shout out to my Patreons at this point. These are the guys that give me the opportunity to not be so sort of, you know, clickbaity on YouTube. I don't have to chase ad revenue on YouTube anymore. To be honest, ad revenue on YouTube sucks unless you've got millions of subscribers anyway. So big shout out to you guys. As a thank you to my patrons who do support the channel though. You guys do get access to these groups and my pre-built operations up and running straight away. So consider jumping over to patreon.com/Manthieus if you're interested in getting up and running. Goblins get access to the Discord and the premium channels. Silver Goblins and above get the TSM groups, and the Gold Goblins are the real OGs that are willing to go that extra mile as a bigger thank you. So options are there, boys and girls, but I won't, you know, I won't push that too heavily. If you're interested and you want to support the channel, check it out, patreon.com/Manthieus. But I'll leave it there for this video, boys and girls. That was just a subtle little update to the NA realms, showing you what I've been doing, showing you how I've been getting up and running. It's a slow and steady progress, and like I said, it's not going to make anybody a millionaire overnight, but you've got to start somewhere. Next time we'll probably have hit level 60, and we'll probably have looked at picking up a couple of professions, and we can maybe start to do some crafting, and maybe utilizing some of these cheap materials that we've picked up in the past. Some of them that I've maybe overstocked on a little bit. Sea Stalk, I'm looking at you. Even I'm not prone to making mistakes when I do this. But I'll leave it there for today. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give the video a like. Consider subscribing if you're new around here and you enjoy the content. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.